Hello everyone and welcome back to Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. So today we're going to be reviewing Barrell Craft Spirits. I have three different expressions here from Barrell that we're going to be reviewing today. We have the Batch 27, we have the Armita, and we have the 15-year. Guys, I'm very, very excited to get into these batches. These are all from the very end of 2020. Just getting them reviewed now. But guys, without further ado, let's go. All right, everybody, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Batch 27. Now, this Batch 27 truly defines the word blending. This really defines what the word blending is in the whiskey world. So this one started out with a 6-year-old fruit-forward Tennessee whiskey blended with a 5-year-old spice-forward Indiana bourbon. It was then blended with 13 and 15-year-old whiskeys to add some oak depth to it, and then a 9-year-old rye. Then it was blended with 5 and 8-year-old wheated bourbons to allow some fruity characters and to soften up the palate a little bit. This one comes in at 115.7 proof. Let's go ahead and get into the nose on this one. Really nice nose. I mean, right away you're struck with just like the fruitiness of it. I think some of that Tennessee whiskey starts to play a big role in some of those fruit forward notes. Maybe some of those 5 and 8-year-old wheaters as well. Not picking up a lot of that 9-year-old rye on the nose at all. Not picking up a lot of rye spices. Definitely very fruit forward. Definitely a nice like a cherry note in there. There's also like this herbal. There's like this herbal aroma to it too. It's a little bit further into the glass. Almost like a tea-like tea note. Maybe some raspberry. The caramel and vanillas are there, just a little. I mean, those are more like some undertones. The fruity aroma is really kind of overpowering everything right now. Nice like sweet honey. Actually picking up a little bit of like oakiness, a little bit of woody notes on the nose. Could be some of that 13 and 15-year-old that they had blended in here to add some of those oak tannins in. All right, guys, get into the palate. Cheers. Yeah. So you definitely pick up right on the front of the palate. A lot of that fruit comes into play, but you're also hit with a really nice spicy character as well. That spiciness actually covers the whole tongue. So some of that rye that they put in there, that they blended in, I can definitely feel that one on the palate. Very, very spicy, fruity on the front of the palate. Nice. It is pretty viscous. It's not very oily, but it still leaves a very nice coating on your mouth. Finish still kind of going on. That fruitiness really goes from the front all the way to the back of the palate. Definitely picking up some cinnamon there on the very back end of the palate into the finish. Again, some of that there's definitely some summer fruits in there. There could be some of that Tennessee whiskey that was blended in there originally. Could be some of those wheated bourbons as well. Really nice first sip here, guys. Let's get into the second one. Yeah, so second sip not as spicy, but those fruity characters just all the way from the front to the back. Cinnamon there towards the back. There's definitely some summer fruit, some raspberry, maybe some strawberry, kind of sitting there on the middle of the palate. And after the finish goes down, I'm left with like a little bit of a nutty character in there. Could be like, yeah, there's definitely a nutty character when it all goes down. Some walnut maybe. I'm not picking up that herbal note that I was picking up on the nose, but like I said, there is that nuttiness that kind of lingers on like on the back. I didn't get it on the first sip, but the second sip I definitely did. And that, it is still pretty viscous. Those fruity characters are definitely, they're definitely playing around with the palate a little bit. There's like a really nice vanilla note that kind of sits there on the front of the tongue with those fruity characters. Doesn't really go much further than that, but very, very, very sweet on the front of the palate. Middle of the palate, again, you're getting some of those like summer fruits. You're getting that cinnamon on the back end. Getting the last sip, guys. Cheers. That sip, right on the middle of the palate, there was like a burst of brown sugar. Brown sugar with those summer fruits. Beautiful mixture. Finish lingering with that cinnamon. Fruits going to the front to the back. Just left with like a little bit of spice, a little bit of spicy character from that rye, kind of covering the palate as well. Still very viscous, going down, oily, long finish. Tell you what, batch 27. This was honestly probably one of my favorite batches outside of some of their more finished stuff. Definitely one of my favorite batches from Barrell right now, batch 27. This one was 115.7 proof. It definitely drank a little bit hotter than 115 proof. I was going to say maybe in the 120 range. Could have been from that maybe that high rye that was in there, causing that rye spice on the palate, that burn. Overall, very, very impressed with the batch 27. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the BarrelArmita. Now, this one comes in at 112.1 proof and is finished in pear brandy, rum, and Sicilian Amaro casks. So let's go ahead and get into the nose. And this is what I was saying earlier about Barrell getting into those blends and those finished whiskeys. There are not too many other companies out there that can do things like this, like Barrell does. So crazy fruit, just right on the nose. I mean, first thing is just bursting with fruit. I definitely think that pear is very, very up front and in your face. It's the first thing. It's like the first thing I smell. Like some burnt sugar. There is actually a really nice caramel note that's still through here. It wasn't like one of those underlying aromas like in the 27. This one you can definitely smell the caramel presence. Could be some of those brown sugars, those burnt sugars in there. The pear, again, pear brandy, definitely present on the nose at least. Still some again there's some other summer fruits there that are definitely present on the nose. A little bit further away from the glass, a little bit further in is where you're catching that pear and some of those burnt sugars. Pear, you're just getting all over the nose. All right, let's get into the palate. Cheers. So first thing I notice about this, it does not drink like it's 112 proof. This is something you could definitely get in trouble with. It drinks very, very easy. Again, oily, it's viscous. Pear brandy, definitely all over the front to the middle of the palate. There's brown sugars in there. Finish is It's fairly short. It's a short to medium finish, a little bit more on the shorter side. It goes away pretty quick. But again, this could be it does not drink like it's 112 proof. I would say maybe 100, if that. Very, very mouth coating. Again, that pear is definitely the pear is definitely present on there for sure. Not getting too much of the that's a Saint Amaro, or I'm not really getting too much of the rum. I got a little bit of rum on some of the aromas from the rum, some burnt sugars and brown sugars on the nose. Let's get to a second sip. Okay, so the second sip's a little different than the first one. It still has that viscosity that goes right to the front to the back. Pear brandy is kind of the shining star here on this one. Definitely present on the front into the middle of the palate. Picking up some other citrus notes though. There's definitely some orange in here that I'm picking up on the sides of the palate. But right as it goes into the finish, there's definitely a slight molasses note that I'm picking up. Right into the finish, right as it goes through. Some of those summer fruits going from the middle of the palate into the back. Again, the finish is short, short to medium. Again, more on the shorter side, but there's that like sitting right on the back of the palate. There is a very, very slight molasses note. Definitely has to be from the rum. Not picking up. I'm really not picking up anything from that Saint Amaro casks. It's more the rum and the pear brandy. Wow. So this one almost changes with every sip that I've had so far. Again, like that pear is just right on the front, but there's also this, like I said, there's this orange, and there's also almost like a peach, or maybe like an apricot note there. That's sitting on the middle to the back of the palate. There's some cinnamon. There's definitely some nutmeg in there. And then right again, as it goes into that finish, you're starting to, there's brown sugars, and there's that molasses note that kind of just is sitting right on the very back of the tongue, going right into the finish. Let's get into the last sip, guys. Cheers. Yeah, so again, very easy, very, very easy to drink. Does not drink like it's 112 proof. Pear, that pear right on the front. Some other ripe fruits in there. Some orange right on the middle of the palate. You're getting some cinnamon in there, some nutmeg. I think a lot of this is really more on the back of the palate. Is really where the flavors shine through on this one. Again, front, you're getting the sweetness from that pear, and into the middle. So you have some of that pear, and you have some of the orange that's sitting there on the sides of the palate, some of that citrus. And then as you go into the finish, from the middle of the palate into the finish is where it kind of gets a little crazy. Brown sugars, and you get that molasses note, and this is something that will just, you could sit with this and sip it, and it really will just continue to develop on the palate. I feel like if I were to continue to pour this, I'm going to find something else that I'm going to pull out of here. This is pretty good stuff. It's not necessarily something I could drink every day. It is very sweet. I think they blended this very, very well. I think the finish that they use on this is very unique. But pretty good stuff here from Barrell with this Armita. All right, guys, so we're going to go and get into the 15 year. Now, this one comes in at 104.9 proof. Get a lot of fruitiness on the nose on this one, but now you're starting to bring out some of these darker notes, some of these darker aromas, some of the darker fruit. Definitely a little bit of leather. Almost picking up like almost maybe like some blackberries maybe in there. This it's very, very rich with like caramel, fruit, some blackberry in there, some leather. Really, I like the nose on this one. Definitely, it's definitely oily. Very, very oily on this one. The legs are just slowly dripping down. All right, let's get into the palate, guys. Cheers. So this one is just very, very different from the last two that I had. Again, more on the dark side of things. You're picking up there's this beautiful tobacco note that I pick up on the finish. A very, very sweet tobacco, like a pipe tobacco, on the finish. It's not very spicy. I would say it does drink like it's about 104 proof. Again, it's not spicy. Very, very. There's a lot of fruit still on the palate. There is some of that leather that I'm getting across the center of the palate. And there's that sweet tobacco going down into the finish. Not as viscous as I would hope it to be. There is, it is a little oily. Finish is medium to short to medium. Kind of lingers there, but that what I'm really liking is that sweet tobacco note right through the finish. Very, very nice. Yeah, so there's something a little earthy about this too. I wouldn't say it's herbal. There's this earthy character to it. I can't quite figure out what it is, but it's on the front of the palate. But then as soon as it passes the front of the palate, it's very, very fruity. I mean, you're talking there's strawberries in there. There's blueberry. There's black, almost like a black cherry. There's those blackberries. And then from the middle to the back of the palate, there's definitely some burnt sugars in there, but there's that leather that's kind of sitting there on the middle of the palate that's kind of mingling in with some of those fruity characters. It could be something that has to do with that tobacco and that leather that I'm getting. That may be that may be on the front of that palate. That was kind of that earthy note. Maybe it's the mixture of everything. I couldn't quite describe what it was, but that sweet tobacco note that is right on the end it's very, very good. Yeah, let's get into the last sip, guys. Cheers. Very, very consistent from sip to sip. Didn't quite change like it did with the Armita. But this one I feel, like I said, it continues to drink at its stated proof. Front of the palate is I'm going to say it's that mixture with that dry leather and some of that sweet like pipe tobacco. Middle of the palate is just really all over the place on this one. There's so many fruity characters going on. mixed with some of that dry leather that sits there on the middle of the palate, and then into the back of the palate. I'm really not picking up too much. Maybe some cinnamons in there, some nutmegs, but then that sweet, like, pipe tobacco finish through is really, really good. It's fantastic. Love the finish on this one. The middle of the palate, all different kinds of flavors going on here, and then right into that finish, that very nice sweet, like, pipe tobacco. Really, really good stuff here. 15 years from Barrell Craft Spirits. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. I want to send a big thank you to the folks over at Barrell Craft Spirits and Aaron at Robo Marketing for supplying me with the samples to review on the channel. Guys, when we talk about blending and we talk about different finishes, you know, Barrell has to be at the top of that list. There are the things that they are doing over there are just so unique and so different. You don't find it with really any other company out there. They do a fantastic job of you know, how they blend, what they're blending with, the different finishes. You know, that's something that is, you know, it's a big risk on their part, and I think people don't understand that. You know, to put these kind of finishes out and some of these blends out. But what they do is just it's phenomenal, and I honestly look forward to many of their next releases that they're putting out, guys. So a big thank you again to Barrell Craft Spirits and Aaron over at Robo Marketing. So guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this or more of the live streams, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You can also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Until next time, guys, stay dusty.